There's basically two ways to get paid for services: as an individual or as a corporation. And you've heard all the good things about a corporation: write offs, lower tax rate, you can pay yourself dividends, which pay lower personal tax, and no payroll taxes. It's also good for the payer: no employee hassles or payroll costs. There is a downside: you can get fired at any time, there are no benefits, but usually there's a higher pay rate, which means you can use those dollar bills to wipe away the tears. What's not to love? It's really easy to incorporate nowadays, too. But technically, a one-man corporation is still a corporation. A little sidebar on the word technical. Usually people say that because they don't believe what they're saying and they just want to sound smart. Well, CRA can get technical too. In fact, they got burned in 1969. The coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats wanted to be a corporation to provide his coaching services so he can get the low tax rate and the write-offs. So the CRA came up with something called the Personal Services Business, or what's known generally as an incorporated employee. The sniff test is if somebody was to look at the way you operate, where you go, and how you do things, and they didn't know about the corporation, would they think you're an employee? If so, you might be a PSB. And if that's the case, you don't get the low corporate tax rate. And if you pay out dividends, it could end up meaning double tax. And you don't get any write-offs either. The only one is your salary, which the government's okay with because they'll tax you personally. It's been an issue for a long time, like I said. And recently, they've been looking at doctors, oil and gas engineers, basically anybody that goes through a staffing agency. So, how do you get around it? Well, you can game the definition, which involves who's in control. When do you work? How do you work? Who provides the tools? How do you figure out profit? You can even write up a contract that says all the things that make you not a PSB. The problem is it has to be backed up by real life. Now, usually for an employee, there's one source of income. So the solution is multiple sources of income. Well, CRA looks at how much you're getting from each source and how you're splitting up your hours. So if a one-man show is bad, the solution is more. In this case, CRA's got an exception. If you have more than 5 full-time employees, you're not a PSB. So get all your buddies together or hire your family. There are other downsides to hiring a bunch of people and going into business with each other that have nothing to do with tax. And if you hire your family, I suggest you look at TOSI, or tax on split income. Sometimes it's called the kiddie tax. CRA's thought of that too. Now, if you want to pull a fast one on the CRA, don't have any profit, because that's where you pay tax. So, whatever comes in, pay yourself out. And like I mentioned before, CRA is okay with that. So, once again, you ask yourself, if it walks like an employee and talks like an employee, it's probably a duck. So, none of these are great solutions. So you can rely on all the past people who said, I incorporated for a long time and I haven't had any problems. It's kind of like me saying, I speed on the highway all the time and never got a speeding ticket. I'll let you make that judgment call. I also heard about setting up a trust. I haven't seen it tested in real life, and I don't know how CRA responds, but it relies on a technicality, that a trust is not a corporation. I'll let you decide if that's worth it, because I haven't seen it happen. So my overall advice, based on all the clients we've had, incorporate, if that's the only way to get the money. But accept the reality that it might not be the tax-saving vehicle that you thought it was. Or you can take the real risk and try to get more clients. Aggressively advertise, show that you can network, and you'll be less likely to be considered a PSB. According to YouTube law, I'm supposed to ask you to like and subscribe. But really, I just want to know what you're curious about. Let us know. Thanks a lot.